Jake the Film Guy, Microbudgeter.com. In this video, we're going to talk about why you should start a video production business.
Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring.
Numero uno, tax breaks. I won't get into the nuts and bolts of that in this video. I'll talk about it in a subsequent video, and I have other information elsewhere. But one of the things that you will get as a benefit of running a video production business are tax breaks. Many years ago, when I was so wet behind the ears, my father-in-law had to explain to me while my wife and I went on a company retreat from Salt Lake City to Coeur d'Alene with the company that I was working with. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, really ritzy place that they rented out. They even had steaks the first night. All this money being thrown at this company retreat, he explained that it was all a write-off because it was all ordinary and necessary to the course of business. And that's the key provision in the IRS language. So no longer do you need to, as John Q. Public, buy a $2,000 camera. Your business can buy a $2,000 camera because it is ordinary and necessary for your video production business. We'll talk more about that later. Number two, by starting a video production business, you will invariably be more or less a producer. What do I mean by that? Not only will you do the locations, but you also do the financing and budgeting. The skills that we need to learn if we're going to be a filmmaker. Obviously, if we're going to be a director, we'll have other producers with us, but sometimes even directors will serve as producers or co-producers on their own films. To have that business acumen is a helpful skill. Case in point, many moons ago, the one person that we don't very often hear about when we talk about Walt Disney is his brother, Roy Disney. Roy was the business brother, all brains, very entrepreneurial fella. Walt, very creative minded, and we have all that intellectual property that we enjoy today because of Walt, but also because of what Roy did behind the scenes. Even serving as CEO from the late 20s all the way into the 60s, I believe up until Walt's death, and then even past that, he still worked within the corporation. As a fitting tribute to his late brother, he had that park finished in Orlando and named after him. Everybody needs a Roy in their corner, but in the absence of that, at this micro-budget level, when you are wearing so many hats anyways, it would behoove you, it behooves me, to function and think like a producer. Numero tres. If you are able to, and you need to, get an LLC, then do it. In the eyes of Uncle Sam, it creates a separate entity, a distinct structure from you, John Q. Public, the filmmaker. Now, the business is a legal entity that is separate from you. Back when I was in Vegas, there was a crusty old mentor at SCORE, S-C-O-R-E, free resource for a lot of folks. Some of their seminars might cost a little few dollars here and there, but if you're a veteran, you can go to them for free, last I checked. Anyhow, the guy at SCORE in Vegas loved to tease us that there are more lawyers in Vegas than in the entire country of Japan. And if you wrong somebody, they're gonna come after your house, your car, your wife, your cat, if you don't have that LLC to separate you from the business interests. Now, I talk about this elsewhere in my LinkedIn, for example, and in other videos. I'll link the LinkedIn article below. But if you're just starting out, you probably don't need the LLC. If you're very well established, if you have a lot of assets to your name, well, then you might need that separate and distinct legal structure. Savvy? Numero four, sales. By being in a video production business, you will invariably learn sales. And I don't just mean closing the deal to get a few dollars in your pocket. I'm talking about casting visions and getting people to buy into something. We've all seen it. In your metro, in my metro, we have these film and acting groups where people will just post out casting calls with little more than a genre and a list of the characters. And it gets maybe 3 comments and a few likes. That's not creating buy-in. On the other hand, I've had more success when I'm able to craft a compelling log line because that lets the people know that are going to enjoy that piece of film. I'm doing a project that fits within this bandwidth. Here is a very simple premise. It's the top of the funnel. It gets people to want to read the script, and if they've read the script, then they might go further down the funnel of committing to the project, helping advance that along the way, so on and so forth. So it behooves you, it behooves me to practice this skill every working day. It's not just Grant Cardone or Zig Ziglar before him. This is a basic tenet that works across the spectrum, whether it's sports, entertainment, filmmaking. We have to refine our crafts daily, no different than musicianship. We have to practice these skills, and sales is one of those byproducts of running a business that you will learn. Number 5, we want to make sure that you are leveling up as a leader. I hope to continue to do that in the course of filmmaking. When you do the projects that are going to be 4 and 5 figure projects, you're going to at some point have to bring in other people. So getting to delegate and pay other people to get some subcontractors to work with you That'll help you grow as a leader. Not to mention, when you do your short films and your feature films, whether they be Microbudget or big Hollywood films down the road, hopefully you and me both, you will need this skill set, obviously, of letting go, empowering your people, trusting they're going to get the ball down the field. Running a video production business will help you do that, because my best projects and my best paid projects were always done with a team. Last but not least, you want to make sure that you are taking responsibility for everything, good and bad, especially if it's bad. As a consequence, you will be accountable to everyone from Uncle Sam to the state to perhaps even your county and maybe the city that you live in, not to mention your clients and the people that you hire to work with you. Contrast that with a W-2 job where you might just contrast that with a W-2 job where you might just have an upline and maybe one or two other people working underneath you, especially as more and more companies look to get an in-house video guy or girl on staff. That's a much smaller sphere of influence, but when you're running a video business, suddenly you are now tethered to many different organizations, and thus you are accountable to them. I wish you the best of success as you launch a video production business. There's plenty of information on how to do that here on YouTube. I have videos as well as information at the blog, which you can check out below. Until next time, keep creating with the King. I'll see you on the next video. Cool. Ready, guys? And action.
You.
Me.
Enough with the theatrics. Why the cash burn?